This is going to be a practical video lesson, so if you want to get the maximum benefit from it, I suggest that you watch this while you're sitting at your instrument. Now, in my previous video, I emphasized the point that jazz is something that we do. So please don't just watch this passively. Press pause, try these ideas out, repeat, rewind, experiment with the different sounds. And I can promise that if you're patient and if you're diligent, you're going to be able to start applying these ideas to your own playing and even to other songs. In this lesson, I'm going to show you how you can play a 12-bar blues using some real jazz voicings. Now, the word voicing is basically a way of playing a chord. That's what it really means. So sometimes we'll add notes to a chord, sometimes we remove notes from a chord, and sometimes we just rearrange the notes completely. And these small changes can actually transform the sound of your playing. I'm also going to show you how jazz musicians sometimes substitute chords. So they'll take one chord and replace it for another. And they do that inside things like the 12-bar blues just to create some more movement and also some more color. So a basic 12-bar blues progression looks like this. So here are the 12 bars, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll do another 4 here. Okay, I'm just going to say that's the end. Right, so we start with, in the first bar or the first measure, we've got chord 1. And what happens is, in those 3 measures, we're going to play the same chord. And this little sign here on a chord chart simply means play the same chord. So I'm going to play chord 1. By the way, I'm thinking right now of 4 beats per bar. So I'm going to play chord 1, chord 1, chord 1, chord 1, and then over here. So basically that's a nice way to already start memorizing it. It's just 4 bars of the same thing. And then once you've played chord 1, you're going to go to chord 4, and you're going to play chord 4 for 2 bars or for 2 measures. Once you've done that, you're going to go back to chord 1. And you play that for 2 measures. Okay. And from here, we're going to go to chord 5. So again, speaking of memorizing, it's chord 1 for 4, chord 4 for 2 measures, and then back to chord 1 for 2. Right. Once we've done that, we're going to go to chord 5. You can actually play chord 5 for 2 measures, and then back to chord 1. And this right here is the basic 12-bar blues chord progression. Okay, so I'm just going to play the basic chords. I'll do this, I'll do it in the key of F. So in the key of F, this is chord 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I play chord 1 again, 2, 3, 4, and chord 1 again, 2, 3, 4, and another chord 1. Then I go to chord 4, which is B flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, then back to F, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, then chord 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, back to chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so at its most basic level, that is the 12-bar blues. Now, to really get a blues sound, instead of just playing triads, we tend to play dominant 7 chords. So for that chord 1, instead of just playing the F major chord, I'm actually going to play an F7 chord. So this chord right here is F7, and that is our chord 1. Okay, so I'm going to go chord 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, you know what would be nice is to play this with a track. So let me play this with a track, the basic 12-bar blues progression. Okay, 2, 3. Here's chord 4. Back to chord 1. Chord 5. And then chord 1. Okay. Isn't it amazing how much cooler it sounds as soon as you add the dominant 7 chord. Okay, so that's your basic 12-bar blues progression when we're playing this in the key of F. Now, if we're going to talk about voicing the chords, there's a number of things that we could do. So, the first thing that I'll do is I'm going to isolate the notes in the chord that I think are most important. So, if I'm going to play with both hands, right? So, for instance, on that F7 chord, that's a 4-note chord, right? I can take my F and I can play it in my left hand. Okay, so that means I don't particularly need to play it over here. Okay, so I've already started voicing my chord because I've removed a note from that chord. So what I'm actually going to leave, the third I need. And why do I need the third? Because the third tells me the quality of my chord. Is it a major chord or is it a minor chord? So in this case, I've got to have that because then it will really tell me the quality of the chord. I'm also going to keep the 7th because the 7th tells me whether my chord is a dominant 7 chord or a major 7 chord. The 5th doesn't really make much of a difference. Okay, so I could actually leave it out and our ears will say, okay, we know what chord that is. That's an F7 chord. So that's absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm going to play in my left hand the root, but in my right hand I'm going to play the 3rd and the 7th. Okay, so these are some simple 2-note voicings. Well, I guess you can call it 3 if you include what I'm doing in the left hand. However, if I'm playing with a bass player, my left hand is going to play the 3rd and 7th. So it's now a 2-note voicing and the bass player will play the root. Okay. In fact, for this lesson, I think I'm going to focus primarily on these. So I'll be playing my voicings in the left hand. So if I'm on the 3rd and 7th, well, there's 2 ways to play this. I can either play it exactly the way I'm doing now, or I could have the 7th at the bottom. So I can have the 7th over here and the 3rd there. So it's still the same chord. So if I play it like this, well, the 3rd of the chord is at the bottom. If I play like this, the 7th of the chord is now at the bottom. Okay. Alright, for now, I'm just going to use this. Okay, so there's my F7. Remember, my bass player is going to be playing the root. So if I'm to play that chord progression that we wrote down, this one here, using my 2-note voicings, I want you to hear what that might sound like. So the 2-note voicings give us a more open sound than the full sound. So let's experiment with that a little bit and hear what we can come up with. Okay, so. I'm going to put the 3rd at the bottom, so I'm going to practice like this. So very important to practice both ways. Now we go to chord 4. Oh, it's right there. Back to chord 1. Chord 5. And chord 1. Okay. Right, some cool stuff already happening. I was tempted to bring in my right hand there. But anyway, that's the first thing that we could do to our chord voicings, is we can play 2-note voicings in our left hand. We're playing in a trio, so the bass player is taking care of the roots. However, if you're playing solo, let's say you're comping for someone or even for yourself, then your left hand plays the root while you do that. Okay, so one thing that's really happening here is I'm playing one chord for quite a long time, and often that can get boring. So to create a little bit more movement, one thing that jazz players do is they substitute some chords. So I'm actually going to do that, but in a very simple way. So in this second measure here, maybe instead of playing that one chord again, why don't we just go to chord 4 there? So instead of chord 1, I'm going to go chord 4. Okay. So we're going to go from chord 1 to chord 4, back to chord 1. Oh, I guess this won't make sense. So now I'm going to have to change this to chord 1. And then obviously we can repeat chord 1 there. And then for chord 4, okay, we've got some movement, that's fine. 1, 1. Okay, that's fine. 5. You know what, maybe we can add some variety here. So instead of chord 5 again here, one thing we could always do, it's actually common practice in a blues, is to go to chord 4 here. Okay, so instead of having one chord for an extended period of time, we've now got a bit more variety and a bit more movement. So I actually want to play this so that we hear what it sounds like. There's that chord 1. And then to 4. Back to 1. And then 4. Yeah. I'm going to put the third of my chord at the bottom this time. Yeah, like this. Ooh. And there's chord 4. Chord 4 again. Oh, and you know what? One thing that I've noticed there as I was listening to the bass is what we can do over here, and again common practice, is you can create even further movement here if you want by playing chord 5 here, because chord 5 will then take you to chord 1. Because if we stay on chord 1, that means we've got 1, 2, 3 bars or 3 measures of chord 1. So here we could always play the 5 chord. So when writing chords in numbers, well, I use, not I, but standard practice is to use Roman numerals to represent chords. I don't even need to put the number 7 there. In jazz, we just assume that all these chords are 7th chords. All right. So when we played our 12-bar blues now, we were playing using 2-note voicings in our left hand. And like I said earlier, you can always make these 3-note voicings by playing the root in your left hand. Okay, so now you're starting to get cool sounds. All right, so we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone here. So we're learning the voicings, but we're also learning how to reharmonize. And what I would actually like to do is to reharmonize even further, and then maybe at the end I'll show you how to make these voicings advanced. Okay, so let's go back to this whiteboard here. So far I'm happy with my chord 1, and then 4, and then 1. One thing that happens here, and it's a common jazz thing. By the way, the nice thing about the blues is it teaches us some common jazz techniques. So sometimes you want to go to a particular chord. Okay, so in this case, we want to go from there. This is our destination. We want to go to chord 4. So what we can do is we can play a 2-5 progression that takes us to chord 4. Okay. So here I can actually play, just to make it different, I'm just going to write this in real numbers. So I'm going to say 2, 5 of 4. Okay. So now we'll do a little bit of maths, right? So if we're in the key of F, our chord 4 is B flat, right? Now how do we get to B flat? Well, we can look for, if B flat is our destination, right? So we want to go here, right? How can we go there? Well, what's the 5 of B flat? The 5 of B flat is F7. So F7 is the 5 of B flat. But remember, B flat is our chord 4, right? So we've just played the 5 of 4. Okay, so the 5 of 4 in this case is F7. So F7, in fact, let's do it like this. F7, okay, now you can see my keys. So F7 going to B flat, that's the 5. F7 is the 5 of B flat. But what's the 2 of B flat? Now, if you know your scales, well, the 2 of B flat is C minor 7. So you can go from C minor 7 to F7 and then B flat 7. But instead of playing those full block chords, I'm going to use 2-note voicings. Right, so in our example, right, here, the 2, 5 of 4, we're in the key of F, right? And we know this is a B flat. We know it's going to be a C minor 7 going to F7. That's going to take us to B flat 7. Okay, so check this out. So I'm going to play for my C minor 7. Well, there's the 3rd and there's the 7th of C minor 7. So I can play the 2 and then the 5 is F7. If I just move this note, this B flat, down a half step, this chord is now F7. So I'm going from C minor 7 to F7. If I play the notes in my left hand, so there's the root, C, and there's an F. I could have played it like this. I can have the 7th at the bottom, so, and again, if I just move the 7th down a half step, I'm going from 2 to 5. And then now I can go to that B flat 7. Okay. So basically my chord progression is now going to look like this. So I'm going to go from chord 1. Hope I can do all this multitasking. Let's see. So chord 1. In fact, let me play it here first. So chord 1, then chord 4, and then chord 1 again, then the 2, 5 for 4, which is, now I'm on 5, I'm in 4, sorry. Okay, when I get to this point, another common jazz reharmonization is, instead of just playing that chord 1 for 2 bars, I can play a turnaround. And a turnaround is simply a 3, 6, 2, 5 progression. So I'm going to put 3, and then 6, and then what I'll do here is, since I want 3, 6, 2, 5, that normally takes me to 1. So I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove that 4 chord, because remember I'd added this as a substitute earlier. Okay, so it's not the original chord necessarily. So I'm going to go back to my original chord, which was 5. So that if I then do this, I now have a turnaround. So now I've got a 3, a 6, then a 2, then 5, and then 1. Okay, so what this is going to sound like, but this is going to be an interesting sound. I've now got 1, and then 4. Then here's the 2, 5 of chord 4. Here's my chord 4. Back to 1. Here's the turnaround. 3, 6, 2, then 5, and then 1. What I could even do further is, instead of just playing 1 and then 5, I could add another turnaround right here. So I could delay this 5. can put it here. But before it, I'll put a 2 chord, because 2 normally goes to 5. So 1, 2, 5. Well, I could add a 6 here. And then that becomes another turnaround. So this way I'm exploring both turnarounds. So I've got a 3, 6, 2, 5, but I've also got a 1, 6, 2, 5. That could make things more interesting. So here I'm just going to move a little faster. So I'm really just going, I'm playing 1, 6, 2, 5. And then that takes me back to the beginning. Okay. The nice thing about the 1, 6, 2, 5 is that it takes us to chord 1. Okay. So turnaround often does that. Like this one here, 3, 6, 2, 5 will take you to 1. Okay. So it's often just a way to go back to chord 1. So I actually want to try this reharmonized version, and I'm going to play this with the track. Let's hear what that sounds like. And again, since you're at your instrument, feel free to try these ideas on your instrument. This is the only way for you to get maximum results. Then the whole thing starts again. Right, so I like to experiment with the voicings both ways. So first with the 7th at the bottom, but also with a 3rd of the chord at the bottom. Alright, so let's now add a little bit more color to our chords. So yeah, it's good, we've got the 2-note voicings, but we could extend these voicings by adding notes to the chord. Right, so one of the first ways I like to do this is to add the 9th. So to a dominant 7 chord, I'm going to add the 9th, and my 9th is over here, but I also like to add the 13th. So here is an extended 7th chord. Okay, so it's got the 9th, it's got the 13th in there. Okay, so this is how I'd play my F. For the B flat, for chord 4, instead of just my 2-note voicing, I'm going to add, well, there's the 9th of B flat, there's the 13th of B flat, so I've got an advanced voicing there, so that's my chord 4. When I'm playing something like a 2-5, so let's say here where I'm going to the 2-5 of chord 4, over here, right, I am going to play, I'm going to add to my 2-note voicing the 9th, so there's the 9th of C. And I'll simply add, instead of the 13th, I just want to add the 5th. So I'll play it like this. So it's the 2-5 of 4. So there's my C minor 7. I already know F7 is this. And then there's my B flat 7. Back to chord 1. And now here's my turnaround. Depending on how much time you have, you could simply play your 2-note voicings if you want to, right? But you could, since this is that 3 going to 6, I could also still add a 9th and the 5th to that minor 7 chord. So I could play that if I wanted to. On the 6th chord, which I'm playing as D7, I can also add the wait, this is not the 9th of D anymore. I'm actually going to try and maybe alter this chord. So sometimes I could add the 9th of D, but for this video I want to play a sharp 9. Yeah, I like that. I like the sound of that. So not only am I extending, I'm also altering the extensions. Okay, so that's one example of a chord that you could use. I've added the sharp 9. I could have even added a sharp 5 if I wanted to. You know, so this is a D7, but it's got a sharp 9, it's got a sharp 5. That is really cool. And then on my 2 chord, again, I can just add the 9th. So there's the 9th of G, and then there's the 5th of G. So now I've got a full sound. And I know my C7. Well, we haven't played the C7 yet, but all I've done is I've added the 9th of C and the 13th of C. So for every dominant 7th chord, I'm simply going to add the 9th and the 13th. So I'm going from G minor 7 to C7. And then, well, there's my chord 1. If I'm playing the turnaround, like in this reharmonization, if I want to play that 1 6 2 5, I could play 1 and then 6, then 2, then 5, and then back to the beginning. Okay, so I know I'm kind of going over this quickly. You might need to rewatch this several times to really get these voicings down, and also because of time, I'm not really explaining them in too much detail. I'm showing you more of the what than the how or the why. If you want that, that's what we cover in the Jazz Piano Lab, so feel free to check that out. And I mean, the beautiful thing about checking it out is you'll be able to play these voicings not only in the blues but in other songs like Take the A Train or Tune Up or Summertime or Blue Bossa and a whole lot more songs. Okay, so I really encourage you to check out the Jazz Piano Lab so that you really master these left-hand voicings. Okay, I actually call them rootless left-hand voicings. So these are the voicings that people like Bill Evans and Wynton Kelly often used when they were playing, because they would be playing in trios. So the bass player would be playing. I mean, just listen to how rich that sound is. It's just gorgeous, just beautiful. You know, so that's really cool. What I forgot to mention was, well, I added the 9th and the 13th. I could have done that even when my voicing was like this. Still add the 9th and the 13th. And there's a whole new group of voicings. Here's my B flat. Here's my C minor 7. Whew. Just nice sounds. And then here, if I wanted to do that, start having lots of fun. You know, it sounds really nice and jazzy as soon as you add these rootless voicings there. I'm going to experiment with the track. Right, let's see if we can have some fun with this. So here it is, with the fuller voicings, which have got extensions and alterations. Right, let's do this. Okay, I mean, I could go on and on and on. But that's really what those voicings end up doing to your playing. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful thing. All right, so like I said, you've got to experiment with these voicings. You've got to rewind, you've got to repeat, you've got to actually sit at your instrument and do these things. That's the only way you can get benefit, any sort of benefit from them, right? So remember, jazz is something we do, not just something we talk about, something we hear about. Let's actually do it, and then you will see a massive difference in your playing. Now, if you're new to jazz and you like, where do I start? And you're not quite sure what to listen to or what to actually do, you know, on a day-to-day basis to learn this, then you should absolutely download my free ebook, which I'm going to put in the description. So I'm going to give you a link to that ebook if you'd like it. And if you'd like to have a solid foundation for your playing, I highly recommend that you first check out my Jazz Piano Fundamentals course, which is going to give you all the building blocks. So you're going to learn all these chord progressions in a number of keys. You're going to learn how to understand tunes and how they're put together. Okay. And then once you've got your foundation, you know your 2/5s, you know your secondary dominants, you know your turnarounds, then you should absolutely check out the Jazz Piano Lab, because this is where we now cover voicings like this, rootless voicings. And you might have noticed that I was also starting to add some rhythm, and I was accompanying myself as I was playing. In fact, first I was just accompanying, but then I started accompanying myself. In the Jazz Piano Lab, I give you so many exercises to get your rhythm to sound exactly like the way I'm playing and the way that you hear jazz pianists accompany on recordings. You know, when you listen to people like Wynton Kelly, I give you exercises to help you think like those guys. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do me a favor and click that subscribe button and check out all the resources that are available. Again, I'm putting links in the description. And remember to do these things, apply, 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 and you will see transformation in your playing. I hope to see you in the next video.